بالقوط القب اللوزة وقول لي العرابة وقول لي العرابة وقول لي حب المصطون الآمي أسدنا الكورة.
Hi folks, welcome to my channel. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know that they were all basically book haul videos. Today I want to try to do something a little bit different for me anyway, and I want to do a brief overview of the books I've read this year. Don't worry, I'm not like some booktubers, or most booktubers, who read about 30 books a month. I'm a quite slow reader these days. But even so, I'm going to have to possibly do 2 or 3 of these videos. This one will cover the books I read in the first 3 months of the year. But these aren't going to be reviews. I haven't got the critical faculties to do proper reviews. It's just, as I said, a brief overview and my feelings about each of these books. So let's get started. First up this year was the book The Anomaly by the French author Hervé Letellier. Now, I came to this thanks to Stephen Andrews and his channel, The Outlaw Bookseller. He recommended this. This intrigued me because of the synopsis. I'm a sucker for a really good synopsis. It deals with an airliner that is traveling from, I think, Paris to New York, which encounters a really weird storm on the way. Manages to survive that storm and land successfully, and the crew and passengers disembark and go about their lives. No problem. However, that was in the March. 3 months later, in June, that self-same plane, Air France Flight 006, with the same crew and the same passengers, comes in to land again. So there are now duplicates of everybody on board. So this is a science fiction technological thriller. Looks at introduces each of a number of characters over the course of the book, passengers and those on the ground who have to investigate this phenomenon. And it's also a sort of a psychological and philosophical book, in that how do you deal with the fact that you're no longer unique, that there is a duplicate of you out there who is exactly the same up to a certain point. They've had the same experiences, same memories, but up to the March of that year, after that, they divert. I mean, how do you deal with the fact that there's 2 of you, but only one life to lead? Also, how do the major religions of the world deal with something like this? How does it fit in with their belief systems? And it also deals with philosophical and sort of theoretical physics, and it deals with, is this life that we lead all just a simulation? I thought this was an excellent novel. It's got one of those endings where you think that it's open for interpretation, and you think I should go back and read that again and see whether I still think the same. But excellent novel, recommended. Next up, something totally different, and that's the 6th in the Vinyl Detective series, Attack and Decay by Andrew Cartmel. I love this series of books. I've read the first 5. They deal with a guy who is a music expert whose job is to search out rare bits of vinyl for his clients. And that's why he's the vinyl detective. It took me a few books to actually realize we never get to know his name. We never find out his name. But these are brilliant, light-hearted crime novels, because searching out a piece of vinyl might not be seen that dangerous, but it never works out that way. It deals with music. I'm passionate about my music, and being a member of the vinyl community, I love my vinyl as well. These I've always thought would make superb TV series. Really would. Nice light-hearted crime stories. Having said that, this is the latest one. It's the longest at about 460 pages. And I have to say, this is probably the weakest of the 6 so far. I think it could have done with being a bit shorter, This one deals with the vinyl detective and his partner and friends having to travel to Sweden to check out a vinyl copy of a very rare death metal record. So he doesn't have to find it. The record's already been found, but he has to go to Sweden to authenticate it. And a good first half of the novel is just them going to Sweden. There's not a lot happens. It's still a good novel. Don't get me wrong, but it's not quite up to the standard of the first 5. I understand that Andrew Cartmel is starting a new series, so I don't know whether it will be the last in the Vinyl Detective series. In some ways, I hope not, but I can see it needs a rest, maybe. But if you like light-hearted crime novels, if you're into your music, I'd recommend this series. Just start out with the first one, though it's not really important that you read them in order. But really good. Next up was a classic by H.G. Wells from, I think, 1896, I think he wrote this, The Islander Dr Moreau. And I read this in these lovely small hardback editions from Sirius. It came in a box set I bought a couple of years ago of Wells's novels, which included The Time Machine, The Invisible Man, The War of the Worlds, When the Sleeper Awakes, and The First Men in the Moon. So I'm trying to go through these in publishing date order. So last year I read The Time Machine, which is an acknowledged classic of the SF genre. And earlier this year I tackled the Islander Dr Moreau. you probably all know about this one. It deals with the titular character who is a mad doctor, mad professor, whatever, doing experiments on animals and people, creating these hybrid animal people creatures, and obviously deals with the morality and the ethics of that sort of work. It's an excellent sort of science fiction horror novel. In fact, it might be heretical to say so, but I actually enjoyed this more than I did The Time Machine. I thought this was a superb novel. So I'm looking forward to tackling The Invisible Man next. Next up, an author that was new to me, and that is Guy Morpus and his novel 5 Minds. Now this is, again, this comes with an intriguing main idea, which, like I say, I'm a sucker for. And this is set in a near future when Earth's population has finally been controlled. Lifespans are limited to 80 years, except for those that make the choice to become a commune, i.e. 5 minds sharing one body. Each of them lives in the body for 4 hours at a time, but with a combined lifespan of 150 years. I was just so intrigued by that. So 5 people occupy the same body for 4 hours at a time, and then obviously 4 hours must be due to downtime and rest. They can communicate with each other, but not at the same time. They have to leave messages, and they don't always get on, which makes it intriguing, because when one of the occupants finishes his or her 4 hour stint in, the next one doesn't know where the body is going to be left, in what sort of state. But it's intriguing. So it deals with the one body, 5 characters who go to what is called a death park, where people can compete in games to buy upgrades for their next body, or for the body they're in. And while they're there, one of the 5 disappears. Now, who, how, why did they disappear? Are they still alive? Are they dead? And was that due to an external person or factor? Or is one of the 5 attempting to kill the others in the body? So it's a science fiction murder mystery novel, really enjoyable. I've got another of Guy's books, his second book, which also sounds fairly intriguing. But if that sounds up your street, I'd recommend it. Next up was a small novel by T. Kingfisher, What Moves the Dead. Now this is basically a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher, and deals with a guy who hears that his childhood friend Madeline Usher is dying, and goes to visit her and her brother Roderick at the Usher estate. T. Kingfisher is a good writer. Actually, this is the first of her books I've ever read. It's a good retelling. It's atmospheric. As with the original, the house and the grounds with its weird fungal growths and weird animals is as much a character of the short novel as the main protagonists. I enjoyed this. I'd be intrigued to try some more of her novels sometime. But again, a good one. Next, one of my favourite authors and a giant of the literary scene, Stephen King, with his novel Billy Summers. This is not one of his horror novels. This is a crime thriller, I suppose. It deals with an assassin, ex-military, who only takes jobs to kill people who are evil through and through and deserve maybe their assassination. He's come to the point where he basically wants to give up this sort of life, but then he's offered one final job. He decides to take it, but very soon in feels that there's something off about this job, and it's his story from then on. King's wonderful. His characters are superb. The books are very, very readable. I've been a big fan since the 70s. And I think, if anything, he seemed to go through a bit of a low period. I think he's getting better and better again now. I'd highly recommend this. As I say, it's not a horror novel. There are no supernatural elements really, but well worth reading. From one classic author to another, and we have Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Now, back in the day when I was reading quite a bit of science fiction, I read a lot of Dick's short works. In fact, I've got a number of volumes of collections of short stories by him, which actually survived the cull way back, and I've still got them. But I never actually read a novel by him until about 2 years ago, when I decided to tackle The Man in the High Castle. And I have to admit, I didn't get on with that really at all. The synopsis intrigued me, an alternative history where the Axis countries had won the Second World War. But what's the matter? I didn't understand it really. It in fact bored me, to be honest. But so I was a bit trepidatious about picking up another Dick novel. I've got a few now that I've picked up in the last year. So I eventually bit the bullet and tried probably his most famous novel, the one that was made into obviously the film Blade Runner and its sequel film. Though I think the sequel owes more to the novel than the original film, but I really enjoyed this. This was so much better than The Man in the High Castle. The plot, which obviously you all know, deals with a future Earth where the majority of people have left for Mars and other colonies. It's post probably a Third World War of some sort. And on Mars, replicants, or basically cyborgs, robots, are developed as workers and servants of mankind. But some of these escape and come to Earth, and it's the job of the main character, Rick Deckard, to track these replicants down and basically dispose of them. It's set in a world where there aren't many animals left on the Earth, so it's a big status symbol to own an animal. And if you can't afford that, then you have a replicant pet. No, this moves a lot faster than the Man in the High Castle. It moves along at a good pace. It's intriguing, and Dick is an excellent writer. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I understand there are three sequels to this, but written by the author K.W. Jeter. What, Jeter? I'm never certain how you pronounce that. Who is a decent author in his own right, so I might be intrigued to follow the story on. But if you're a science fiction fan, you've probably read this, you'll know all about it. But yeah, I was pleased to actually enjoy this one. So I'll look forward to picking up one of the other Dick novels I've got, hopefully in the not too distant future. Sticking with science fiction, I then read this novel, Quality Land, by Mark Uwe Kling, a German author. It's a satirical novel that I suppose it's a bit like a Black Mirror sort of synopsis. And so I'll read from the back. Welcome to Quality Land. We hope you enjoy your trip to the happiest, most advanced place on Earth. Quality Land is the world's first 2.0 country where everything is run by infallible algorithm, including society, in which everyone is ranked by level, shopping, orders arrive before you even know you want them, and relationships. You'll be notified instantly if there's a better match out there. This is good fun. It's, but in some ways, it's too near the knuckle. A lot of the things that are tackled in here, you can see we're not that far away from, frighteningly enough. So this is a sort of dystopian comic novel. It's Kafkaesque in places because it also deals with, the main character is a guy called Peter who receives an item from the main shopping company. I can't remember what they're called, which is obviously a take on Amazon. But it's not something he ordered or wanted. It's a pink dolphin-shaped vibrator. And part of the book deals with his attempts to return this and get a refund from the company. But they don't acknowledge that he didn't want it, didn't need it. So it has that Kafkaesque quality of like the castle, or the trial rather, where this, organization does things and you never know why. But yeah, it's really good fun. I'd highly recommend it. If, as I say, it's a bit. I can see a lot of this coming about, to be honest, which is a sad thought. But good fun. And finally, I read a book of science fiction short stories in the Solaris Rising series. There are, I think, 3 of these. I've got all 3. This is the first volume. Has stories by people such as Ian MacDonald, Ken MacLeod, Stephen Baxter, Adam Roberts, Lavi Tidar, Mike Resnick, Steve Rasnick, Ian Watson, Alistair Reynolds, and Peter Hamilton. Good book, enjoyable. As with all sort of anthologies, there are stories that are hit and miss, yeah. Some better than others, but generally a high standard. Particularly, I think, I'm trying to remember, it's difficult to remember which ones particularly, but yeah, I think the Ian MacDonald, A Smart, Well-Mannered Uprising of the Dead, that was a good one. I think I enjoyed the Hamilton one. The Ian Watson, the Steve Baxter, I think were good ones. So, yeah, if you like science fiction short stories, try it. Look forward to moving on to the next ones. So that's it. That's the book. Those are the books I read in the first 3 months. If you've read any of these, you have any thoughts, please, I'd be interested to know what you thought of them. Or you've read anything else by the authors here, any recommendations for me. So yeah, I'll do April next on its own, because that was quite a productive month for reading for some reason. Hope you found that of some interest. I've got a massive load of books to show from recent book hauls as well. Anyway, take care, everybody. Hope to see you soon. Bye.